Welcome to part 2 of my bulk buying, bulk storage videos. And the point of going to all this effort to can and freeze and store all this food is to use it. Don't be a food hoarder. Use the food up. It's marvelous food. You went to so much effort. Use it, guys. Use it up. First one was all about budgeting, deciding what to buy in bulk, how much to buy. It's kind of a ramble. This one is going to be showing you around my house and different places I store bulk things. I also have some questions for this, so maybe we'll go over questions and then we'll go look around at things. So one of the top questions I had was, what about preventing bugs and mice? So this is when you're going to need to have, so some people use like 5-gallon buckets with gamma lids, they're called. They're these crazy good lids. Or there's like metal rodent-proof trash cans. Or we have a root cellar. We're really fortunate for that, and it's rodent-proof. We use just Rubbermaid totes even, and we don't have a rodent problem in our house. We have the odd mouse in our house. We catch it. We haven't had problems with it with food. How do we store things in a small house? And how did we store things before we had this massive house with a root cellar? So we weren't able to do things like grow 1,000 pounds of potatoes. We had nowhere to store them. Our canning was stored in the kitchen and in bedrooms and in a laundry room, and it was everywhere. Our mudroom would have totes of bulk goods, and like a friend of mine has metal trash cans in her entryway, and one of those metal trash cans fits 150 pounds of flour. So I guess part of it depends on, like, are you committed to having a Pinterest perfect house, or do you want to feed your family well on a budget? If you want to feed your family well on a budget, well, maybe in the corner of your kitchen, there's a shelving unit where someone might have a gallery wall, and your shelving unit stores your canning and buckets of dry goods. You gotta look at your priorities and what you're willing to do. You can find space to store things in any size house. Could you store as many things as I can in a large house with a root cellar? No, but you can get creative. How do we keep nuts and flowers and that sort of things fresh if you don't have a root cellar? So a lot of people put these things in the freezer. Number one, if you've been burned by things like weevils or bugs in the past, throwing them in the freezer cuts those out. We're quite fortunate. Most of our stuff that gets sent here gets shipped and it's frozen in shipping. So that kills a lot of it. I don't store any grains or nuts in the freezer. I've found the nuts that I buy from Organic Matters are always really fresh and delicious, and I've never had a problem with them going rancid. I don't store my peanut butter in the fridge. I've never had a problem with it going rancid. I don't have a really hot house. My house at the very, very warmest, very few days would be 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 25 degrees Celsius. On average, we're probably 18 degrees Celsius to 21 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like 20 degrees Celsius is 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So like in around 70 degrees. How can we store potatoes without them sprouting? So potatoes need to be stored somewhere dark and cool. And if you don't have somewhere dark and cool, a closet or somewhere in your house, then it's just not something you can grow and store. So how do I store things? Do I use the original container? That sort of thing. I'm gonna show you around things. Number one, I've never had a problem with bugs. Maybe one day I'll have a problem with bugs and I will change majorly how I store things. Until then, I store things as much as possible just in their original package. I don't decant into other jars, partially because like all our gallon-sized jars, I need these for milk. And all our canning jars, I need them for canning. Or like people use this size jar, like I need these for like drinks and storing things. So I don't have the jars to store things, and I don't care about having a pretty perfect pantry. I care about my pantry being functional. For some people, they need to decant into other size containers, either due to rodents or bugs, or just they can't handle all the bags. I just have all the bags. Okay, now freezers. Where did we buy our freezers? Most of our freezers are used. We've only ever bought one new freezer. It was expensive. It was worth it. It will last us a really long time. But other than that, just look used. Right now, it's really hard to buy freezers due to COVID. Preventing freezer burn. So first of all, don't have things in your freezer forever. Things last longer than you think in your freezer, but also try to have things like on a yearly or 2 years at the most turnover. If you get to a year mark, like say frozen peaches from 2019, if I still have frozen peaches from 2019, those are priority to use up before other things that we froze in 2020. I don't want to see 2018 frozen fruit or vegetables in my freezer. Those need to be used up right away. They're going to start going bad. Not bad, they're just going to be freezer burnt, maybe really frosty. They won't taste as good, they'll lose texture. You can still use them, but just try to use things up. Don't just like store all these things in your freezer and never use them. The point of putting all this effort into stocking your freezer is to use it. For meat, the vast majority of our meat we just wrap in butcher wrap, single layer. We do fish vacuum sealed because that's the only way that it stays really fresh and good. Sausages and ground meat get put into a plastic bag and tied before we butcher wrap them just because it's easier for us. It's cleaner to do ground meat that way. And we've found that like up to 2 years, single butcher wrap is totally fine in our chest freezers. Marius's parents do like 5 layers of saran wrap before they do butcher wrap because they want things to last forever, but we don't want things to last forever. We want there to be a turnover. We got lots of people we're feeding. We just got to keep turning things over. How do I organize my freezers? So I will explain it when I'm downstairs. Right now the freezers are not very organized because at this time of year when we're freezing things, every time we go to freeze things, you lay out layers in the freezer so it freezes really fast. And so right now there's like fruit in the meat freezer and meat in the fruit freezer and it's all over the place. And pretty soon we'll do a good freezer organize. And we have 4 chest freezers and an upright freezer, and we have 3 fridges. Okay, but here's the thing. 1 fridge is just for milk. And then with a family our size, and when we don't go to the grocery store every week, 1 fridge is just for like the regular stuff. And then Marius recently got a freezer because he's like, well, what about like, it's really frustrating to me when I like want to do something with meat or salmon, or I don't have space to put a case of beer, this and that. So he got a used fridge and it's in our mudroom, although right now it ends up having produce and milk in it as well, and cheese. So there you go. I have done lots of other videos on freezers. I'll link them below. How do I decide what to freeze or dry or can? So this is mostly based on preference. Our family doesn't love canned green beans, and I don't like canned berries. I'd rather have my berries frozen for using in smoothies and baking and just eating. We mostly just dry like mushrooms and herbs. We canned a lot of peaches this year. We don't like canned vegetables. We mostly just flash freeze our vegetables, like blanch and freeze our vegetables because we much prefer them that way. So it's really just on preference and on storage space. I can a bit of meat to have the convenience, but not because of freezer space, just because of the convenience. I freeze broth because of the convenience of having the canned broth and not having to thaw it. And also broth can easily take up a lot of freezer space. Let's start off in our kitchen. So this pretty thing here has our Berkey water filter, and it actually used to have a lot of food storage, but then when we rearranged our kitchen, I moved it. And all this has right now is a partial bag of flour and some dandelion wine that Marius is making. There's 1 can left in there. and some herbs in tinctures and such. But I used to store buckets of things in there, and I may go back to doing so. And here, there's lots of dried mushrooms. We put big containers here too, but this is dried mushrooms and dried rose petals, and that's elderberries there. So just some different dried things. I think some dried peppers back there. This cupboard just has some canning up here. Just if I bring up a jar of something, I'll bring up an extra jar of it. So I have one up here. Here, this is like the snack junk food cupboard. This here, anything we buy in like a jar, can, that sort of thing, all goes here. This really needs organizing. I'm showing you guys really unorganized things right now. And here is bulk baking supplies. So baking soda, baking powder, almond flour, almonds, hazelnuts, coconut flour. Oh, and this has oats in it, and the rest of the oats are in the basement, I think. Here we got peanut butter, peanuts, cornstarch, random bulk things. Here's cocoa. Just all the random things. As you can see, mostly things are just in the package they come in. Down here, I have a really messy peanut butter tote. Honey, and there's rice back there. This is Rowan's bottles and such. This is just literally just a bag of flour because when Hamish was grain-free, I gave my flour to Anna and I just gave her the tote and then I never got it back, so I need to buy another tote to keep flour in. My grain mill's back there, as well as bannetons for baking. And this is sugar, and back there, I don't even know what's in that tote. I keep, like any of these buckets, I keep them and we use them for storing things. Marius uses a bunch of them recently to freeze apple juice that he made for, I think he's making apple wine. Coconut sugar. Okay, that's one that I won't rebuy. We didn't really care for it. I tried using it too, just like brown sugar on top of oatmeal. My kids didn't like it. There's very little left, and when it's gone, I won't restock. This is how much sugar I have left. Not a whole lot. Hoping Marius can get me sugar today. And here's a lid. This is, I think this was a honey bucket. I put honey in this. And just took the label off of the organic matters thing, put it there. So that's pretty much, like the rest of our stuff is just dishes and pots of pans. Oh, over here. So up here there is just like cooking things. I only buy these in this size. There's our bulk pasta, like rice noodles and such. And down here is where I store all my bags, dried beans and such. And as you can tell, it's chaos. All I do, although Mac chucked the griddle on top of there. This is a roasting pan that I don't use all the time, so I just have all my bags, dried beans in there, and then there's a roasting pan down here. It looks like someone dumped out. That should have my bulk spices, cloves, and I just keep these all in the packages. They come in, as you can tell, they're all from Organic Matters. So that's the super fancy storage down there. Showing you guys all these things make me like, ooh, this really needs to be organized. But this is just not really the organizing time of year. This is the time of year when we're filling freezers and such, and this will get organized soon. So, oh, Pepper Dog, you're fine. So, this is our mudroom. This is unheated, so it's cold in here in winter. Fridge, this is Marius's fridge, and this upright freezer. I've shown these before, but I'll show you quick through again. So Marius's fridge and his freezer, he's got all his mass amounts of jerky that he made, prawns that he bought, and these are frozen full of apple juice. And then the fridge itself has eggs, zucchini. He did those peppers. They're just stuffed with feta and put in sunflower oil. Some kombucha in here, some feta that I made, more zucchinis, yogurt, beer. What is in that container? Oh, peppers that he was working on. More peppers, okay? And then this freezer right now is mostly a butter freezer. This freezer needs to be reorganized. There's been a bunch of fruit chucked in here, like sour cherries and raspberries. There's some raspberries flash freezing there that need to be bagged up. This freezer is only supposed to be pre-made foods, like things that we've made or bought. So that could be like pierogies or hot dog buns that we bought, like you see pierogies down there. Or it can be like casseroles and frozen soups and chilies and pasta sauce. That's what I try to keep in this. Here's some muffins. These muffins look like they're a little old. I need to go through this freezer and sort things out. I also keep all my butter up here, and I have lots of butter. We get lazy and we just chuck things in the closest freezer when we're doing lots of stuff, which I didn't show you like the kitchen fridge and freezer. That freezer just has like partial bags of fruit that we use for smoothies. That's where we keep the yeast. That's like, there's just random things in there. So in the basement, which has bad lighting, this is the only freezer we've ever bought new. So as you can tell, there's random things in here. There's colostrum and pizza pops and frozen apples. So these, all I did was slice them, spin on, toss them with lemon juice, and freeze them. And they're for apples. I did 8 cups to a bag. So this freezer is what we aim to be so I don't even know what Marius is doing right now. He kind of reorganized some things, and we need to do that again. There's more apple juice under there. So what we try to do is sort freezers by, like, say this is only pork and fish in this freezer. So we know when we want pork and fish, it's in this freezer. So that's a big job that we need to do, is reorganize all the freezers again. This freezer for a long time was our beef freezer, but then when we bought, why is there pork chops in there? I don't even know, guys. Oh, kitty, you scared me so much. Thunderstar. Okay. This freezer was our beef freezer forever, but then I think Marius chucked a bunch of chicken in here when we got our chicken back. And then I put apples on top. So again, needs to be reorganized. All this side is only like pepperoni and Landager. See if I can even get into this freezer. I do not like having things on top of freezers. I like freezers to be able to just open up and get into them when I need them. This is the trim for our windows. For our window upstairs that Marius put in. So this one appears to have actually stayed how it's supposed to be. This is just a fruit and vegetable freezer. The blackberries my mom brought up. Some store-bought fruit that we bought before fruit started coming in, but then lots of rhubarb, wild berries, frozen broccoli from the garden. Frozen milk from when we made our own formula. I just had a backup bag I never used. So this freezer is usually fairly organized, but right now it is not, but this is fruits and vegetables. Then over here and here, milk fridge. The freezer here had, oh dear children. Wow, that's a great way to freeze rhubarb, children. This is colostrum here in this bucket. And then this is lard that I made that I still had some in the root cellar. So I froze some to make sure it stayed fresh. Ooh, dulce de leche. We will pull a jar of that out. Didn't realize I still had some. That's the door jar. Oh, better get using that. No shame there. Milk fridge is milk and cheese. So there's about 4 gallons of milk from this morning and last night. I just used a bunch of milk right now. And then we've got wedges of cheese and it's feta and wheels of cheese, and there's more feta and halloumi and wheels of cheese and cheese, all the cheese. There's also animal medications. Oh look, more cheese. Okay. This freezer, bear. So this one has loads of bear hot dogs that we had made, but then under here there's still some bear meat and a bear hide. This bear meat bagged up, I'm gonna make sausages with. So this freezer is just bear. And now for the last but not least, the root cellar. So in the corner of our basement here, we have this insulated room. Right now it's not super cold. In the winter, it's fridge temperature, so I had to move all my cheese out of here for summer, but it will move back into here, and that will free up a lot of fridge space for winter. The marvelous root cellar. So much canning. Peaches, tomatoes, applesauce, more peaches, beans, tomatoes, applesauce, salsa, broth, chai syrup, salmon, apple pie filling, salmon, jams, salsa, pie filling and applesauce. More apples my sister-in-law is going to use. Oats, flour, popcorn, cocoa. There's even pasta in there. Popcorn that the kids didn't even close. And then just other bulk things like this is dried garlic, but there's dried garlic upstairs right now, so we won't bring this up till we crack into the next one. Some store-bought things like crackers, sushi rice, what's this? Dried onions. Oh, there's a bag of oranges in here. Bring that up. So funny story. When I was on bed rest, my sister bought us some salad dressings to make our life a little easier. I asked her to. My kids don't like them. They want nothing to do with them. So there you go. Yeah, so there is store-bought things in here too, not just homemade things. There's an empty box. Here's an example of this rice. It's only 2-pound bags, but it was 50% off and a good price. I bought all they had. I think I bought 8 of them. Olive oil was on sale just at the grocery store. Bought 3 packs of these, I think. Look, more canning. More cheese. Marius's M&Ms. More canning, more canning. So when we harvest potatoes, they will be stacked up here and up here and down there. We'll move this stuff. They'll be along the bottom. There'll be potatoes everywhere. This room will be absolutely bursting. It's the most gorgeous thing ever. But we need nutritional yeast upstairs too. We are low on that. As you can see, all sorts of things. There's some lard down there. Canned broth, canned beans. So many gorgeous things. So I hope you've enjoyed this tour of our storage and how we store things. And yeah, oh, so like popcorn, we have a quart jar that like Mac just comes and fills a quart jar and brings it upstairs. But yeah, this is how we store all our things. Most of this will be gone by next early summer. So we're actually out hunting right now, and I'm working on editing this video, and I realized that I just didn't answer some questions that really needed to be answered. So when it comes to sourcing bulk food, we automatically think of buying from like bulk food places. But don't underestimate the stores you have in your own town. For example, like our health food store, while I would never buy a small bag of flour from there, they keep big bags of flour in the back. And where we used to live, it was the same price as trying to get it from a bulk place, just the big bags of flour they kept in the back. Ask. You know, if you only see 2 5-pound, 2-pound, 5-pound bags of oats on the shelf at the health food store, or even at the grocery store, be like, hey, do you have any 25 or 50-pound bags in the back that are for sale? One of our grocery stores where we used to live had a huge bulk section, and quite often they had extra 50-pound bags in the back that I could buy for a great price, and they'd just write a discount on there. Oh, you're buying the whole bag here, you can have 20% off. And you'd be like, okay, sounds good to me. Our local health food store where we live now doesn't have amazing prices on bulk stuff, but when you buy a bulk bag, like a 25-pound bag, you get 15% off, and that adds up on bigger orders. So ask where you live. In Canada, here, I love Organic Matters. Their website is called Essential Organic Ingredients. In the States, I'm noticing some prices really going up. I think it's just the state of the world right now. Notice big differences on popcorn and peanut butter and rice. Rice like doubled. If you're in the States, as their standard, Sam's Club, Costco, I just caution you with somewhere, especially like Costco, to not blow your budget on little things. To think about what you're really there for and keep your budget in mind and not buy all the fun, shiny things. And don't underestimate grocery store sales. I talked about this in the previous video too. It can be a great way to stock up on things. Sales go in cycles. Sales, are at certain times of year on fruit and vegetables. I bought all my peaches not from a fruit stand, but from the grocery store this year because it was the best price. So don't underestimate that. Watch your sale flyers, especially if you're still building your inventory. You just can't underestimate watching those sales.